Oh, just let me out.
That clock keeps ticking like a metronome, and my thoughts keep telling me to get me home, but my balls keep telling me to let me oh, just let me out.
Welcome to part 1 of a 3-part review series of the Didun Design Royal Oak Offshore Diver. In this first part, the initial impressions, I'll be discussing the watch after less than 24 hours of ownership. I'll be running through the watch's specifications, testing out its features and giving you an idea of what it's like. In part 2, the design review, I'll be going into more detail after wearing it for a few weeks. And in the third part, closing thoughts, I'll be able to conclude the discussion. So far I've had this watch in my possession for about 22 hours. And as always, this watch comes shipped in its usual small box that's good for storage. And now I'll let you enjoy the unboxing. How cool does this look? Totally out of left field for what I usually gravitate towards, and that's partly why I chose it. But before we get into the specifications of the watch, I'd like to talk about AliExpress and their range of Didun watches that seemingly have been removed from their page. I don't know if this is confirmed, but apparently they are lying low from Audemars Piguet. Maybe that's incorrect. I have seen the page removing their stock of these watches in the past, so they could all return to the page in time. But today I'm going to be talking about the supplier of this watch. If you may or may not know, this particular model of Didun diver has received a lot of criticism in the past because they do not all perform the functions that they were advertised with, namely the crown at the 10 o'clock position for the inset diving bezel. I tried to do my research before buying watches, and this element was hotly debated on most of the pages I was interested in. I contacted a lot of suppliers before realizing that I may not get a good example to review. So I went onto Instagram and stumbled across Select Caliber. The team assured me that all their watches come directly from suppliers, which means that they are not tampered with in any way. And after receiving the watch in perfect condition, I believe them. It really is immaculate and everything functions as advertised. I'll link their address in the description below. They have a wide selection of watches to choose from. Running through the dimensions and specifications, the bezel diameter measures to be 44 mm. The overall length, including the crown and crown guards, sits around 48 mm. The lug width is 28 mm. The lug-to-lug length is 46 mm, including the protruding curved end links. It measures to be 55 mm. The case height, including the case back and bezel, measures to be 15 mm. The watch has a usual case back made from stainless steel and is secured to the case with 8 flathead screws. The crystal is hardened mineral glass, not as strong as sapphire, but stronger than standard mineral crystal. The watch's movement is a Seiko quartz, and I stupidly deleted the movement's reference number, but essentially its 2 subdials measure 24-hour time. The dial on the right is dependent on the hour hand and moves in tandem with it, while the dial on the left can be set with the 2 pushes at the 2 and the 4 position. The 4 position advances the hand, and the 2 position returns the hand. My favorite element of the watch is the adjustable bezel crown at the 10 o'clock position. It's threaded and screws into the case. The threading is really substantial. Once it is sprung free, you can manipulate the internal bezel, which is unidirectional, by turning the crown clockwise. It has a very reassuring click and feels mechanical, sort of like a dial on a safe. I haven't counted the number of clicks in the bezel, but can say that it is smooth and lines up perfectly with the corresponding yellow minute hand, and can be used as a 60-minute countdown timer. Returning the crown is just the same. Push it against the body of the watch and turn it clockwise. The rubber strap is very soft and has a smooth texture to its finish. It smells to be a blend of latex and rubber. It tapers from 28mm down to 20mm, and that taper is quite appealing on the wrist. The buckle is signed with a substantial tang that fits through a rectangular hole and secures itself well against the body of the buckle. And as you can see, both keepers are independent. The one nearest to the keeper is capable of being maneuvered and then secured by rubber bosses. Of the 4 possible color choices, I decided to go with yellow. The reason why was because it was something different, and also a color I knew would be wearable. In my opinion, I think this color rides the line with being outgoing but also restrained. It's not aggressive like orange, and it can go with many more outfits than green. You could wear this watch with a shirt and jeans, but also with a suit. And in the design industry, we would refer to this as a spot color. Overall, I would say that the color isn't as light as pictures might represent it to be. It's almost like a dark mustard, sort of like a Lamborghini yellow. Bringing the dial in closer, what strikes me the most is the depth that the dial has. This is the first watch I have ever handled where my eyes are drawn to the cavity between the crystal and the dial. It is deep. It really is stunning to look at. If we look closer at the positioning of the numerals and the subdials, you can see how the light plays differently off the surfaces. There is a combination of matte, polished and glossed surfaces throughout the dial. The next element that I really enjoy is the glossy grand tapisserie wedges on the dial. There are 0 defects. It looks flawless. The light catches and reflects off whatever corner it comes in contact with, making it a more fun watch to maneuver around. I think the dial would look very boring if it was just a matte finish. With all these added details, it just makes a better, more engaging wearing experience. So let's see what this watch looks like on the wrist. Sitting on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, the watch looks large. Bear in mind that my wrist has shrunken considerably over the last few months after not going to the gym. The cold also constricts all the vessels in the region, so it's not a fair measurement. I would recommend this watch to be perfect for someone with 7-inch wrists. Regardless of the size, it sits comfortably, and surprisingly it does not feel top-heavy at all. You can see that the case flattens itself down on the wrist, lessening the overall height. The rubber strap is extremely comfortable and conforms to the wrist, while removing the majority of the mass away from the wrist. I can wear this watch with ease doing daily tasks, and I'm not reminded that it's there until I see the color. This is probably one of the biggest surprises from the wearing experience so far. The gripes I have with this watch: it does not have a screw-down crown, which will impact its water resistance in the long run. What I do like is the fact that these crown guards are so massive that they protect it well from unnecessary interaction. The next gripe I have with it, and with all quartz watches, is the ticking seconds hand. I really hate ticking seconds hands, and might do some surgery to remedy the watch of it one day soon. Also, I have noticed that the hand does not hit every numeral correctly, which would bother any OCD member among us. But I really like the concept of this watch. It does not take itself seriously, it's fun, it's practical. It is something stepping into the modern age of watch design, and I would say it falls into a category of being a playful, aggressive watch when we look at the aesthetics. Sort of like a piece of Technic Lego that has been turned into a watch. It's every 80s and 90s kid's dream. But overall, I think it's going to be a fun wearing experience all the same. So thank you all for watching this first part of the review series. I hope you have enjoyed it. To all my new subscribers, welcome, thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.